Ray, first playoff event is in the books. Obviously, we're moving towards the finals. I guess what were your thoughts about tonight's action?
Jeez, overall night it was amazing. I mean, just to close off the way it was, unfortunately for the Vegas guy, he didn't come through. But I mean, Pineda, when he was waiting to walk, he actually ran out and wanted to get into the cage right away. I mean, like you could just tell that he was ready to go. So, I mean, congrats to him and all the guys that made it. But as Tani said, three of the guys that made it to the finals are all from the Challenger Series. So congrats to those guys.
Yeah, and two of them from this year too, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess like, what does that say to you? Like, we've got this developmental concept, but it's not like it's years in the making. We put people in right away.
Well, that's the great thing about the Challenger Series is that some of the fighters that we put in there, have 10, 15, 10 plus fights, right? And those guys, once they come through, then it's easy to put them into the PFL Global, into the season, because they have enough experience to be able to compete with the rest. Of course, guys like Billy, who was one of the first fights tonight, also out of Vegas. He's 6-1 now, I believe, or 5-1. Yeah, obviously, he's not experienced enough to get into the season, so probably another year to develop him. But and the rest of the guys that was on the showcase fights. But yeah, I mean, the guys that showed up for the Challenger Series and won that and gained experience to get to be able to be in the season is truly amazing.
Yeah. We're in a new venue tonight. I know we're going back to the theater, for the remainder of the events. But I guess, can you talk about kind of the business model moving forward? Like, is that the idea, is to go out and find new places and travel this thing to more spots? Is it to stay in kind of familiar ventures?
Well, for us, it's more kind of, especially the way the format is set out, right? It's finding the places that's willing for us to set up for 3 weeks back to back. That's where, so for example, we were able to come here, but then for New York, for the next two, it's in New York. So it's, again, because the way the season's format is laid out, for us, it's finding the places that allows us to bring everything in, sit up, and leave it there for 3 weeks back to back. So, and whoever's willing to do that, we're in.
A lot of the finalists tonight said, hey, we'll see you in November. We're looking forward to it. I mean, have we got an exact date and a location dialed in yet for the finals?
Yes, I believe it's the 24th. It's one or the other, 24th or 25th. But I think it's the 24th. I can't really say what the location is yet because those are still in the works. And I think we're in the final stages of signing that contract. So, but that's coming soon.
Don teased on Twitter some big announcements coming. Are you able to follow up on his teases and give us any indication of what he was talking about?
Well, I'm glad he's teasing it, but so I'm going to leave it at that. I think he wants to announce it himself. So,
I mean, I have to ask you. I mean, Bellator gets brought up with you guys all the time.
Right.
If I didn't ask you, I mean, what can you comment on at this time on where those things stand?
Well, those conversations are still ongoing. It's been ongoing for, a little while now. So, and that's all I can kind of say about it. We're getting close, but that's all I can say about that.
Last thing I wanted to ask you, we saw a lot of Francis Ngannou tonight on the broadcast, right? I guess talk to me about that. What's that relationship like? I mean, obviously, he's got this boxing coming up first, but you guys were kind of doing a lot of promoting for it tonight, right? So
right.
Is that just out of the goodness of heart? Is that a business deal together? How does that work?
Yeah, no. Listen, we're here to support Francis also, and obviously he wants to do this boxing thing, and so he's part of our team, and so we want to support him, and we wish him nothing but the best.
I'm wondering about the Amanda Serrano announcement. How much input did Jake Paul have in that signing?
How much input? Yeah, as you know, she's part of his team, and she actually wants to. I think she has a boxing fight coming up soon, and then she wants to do, get into MMA. I think she's also had a couple of MMA fights, so she's not new to the MMA world. But yeah, I mean, It's something that she wants to do, and she's a 45er, and obviously for her, it's not jumping into the season. It's a matter of building her, and we'll go from there.
Do you have any update on Kayla Harrison?
Yes, Kayla should be fighting in the championship, I believe. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Any opponent or anything?
nothing confirmed yet.
What about weight loss?
It would probably have to be 45. Yes.
I have a question. As we're moving towards, obviously, it's going to be sometime next year when Francis Ngannou makes his PFL debut. Are there any names that are kind of circulating as a potential opponent for him when he does make his PFL?
Yes, I mean, they're names that have been brought to my attention, if you will. Obviously, I can't really say anything about it because we haven't really finalized anything yet. And so, but again, it's just a matter of getting him to, he wants to focus on this boxing fight, and then we'll go from there.
Would this season's champion be an option, or would it not even be an option? Are you thinking like another free agent?
It's possible. Yeah, very possible.
What about Derek Lewis?
Derek Lewis also, I mean, his name's been thrown out there, but when I watched Derek's after-fight press conference thing, he made it clear that he would like to stay at the UFC if things are right for him, obviously, so.
Speaking of boxing, someone obviously, Jake Paul, is signing with PFL and agreed he has a fight coming up tomorrow against Nate Diaz.
Right.
Do you have a take on that fight, a prediction? Who do you think is going to win? Is there a lot of discussion about that?
It's a good fight. You see, the thing is, Jake has been active. Nate hasn't. Jake's been boxing. Nate hasn't. And so, listen, Jake, we all know Jake is, he's the guy that comes and he'll go out on his sword, if you will. But again, if I had to really, bet my life on it, I'd probably kind of lean towards Jake just because he's been active and he's been boxing.
Ray, can you tell us about your experience here in San Antonio? How was this week for you guys?
It was great. I mean, the crowd out there was amazing. They were into it, and of course, we had 7 finishes out of 10 fights. That's pretty amazing as well. So, I mean, what is there not to love about San Antonio and the crowd out there?
Speaking of finishes, was there one specific one that stood out to you?
They were all great finishes, but I think the main event probably had to take that. Pineda, we all knew coming into that main event, especially the way Bubba lost to Brendan Loughnane, if Pineda didn't do his homework by watching that fight, then he was going to lose, right? But he was able to defend a takedown, stick and move, and did the job. And so the outcome wasn't a surprise to me because people have asked me about it, and pretty much if Pineda was able to stop that takedown, then he was going to come out on top. It's just because he's quick, he likes to throw bombs in there and finish fights, and the outcome was the outcome.
I know that a lot of fighters, as you're making your way through the PFL, a lot of fighters are vying for the $1 million championship. Any talk of possibly adding any performance of the night bonuses for the fighters?
Yeah, the team have talked about it. Nothing confirmed yet, but yeah, it's being thrown around, put it that way.
With Pineda missing weight, of course, and then there was the stipulation that was put in that, even if the fight was scored 29-28 in favor of Pineda, it would have gone to a draw, and then Bubba would have advanced. Is there any talk about making that a concrete rule for any time a fighter misses weight, where this is just an understood thing? We had a conversation about this in the media room. Is that something that that the organization has talked about, just making that the concrete rule moving forward?
In terms of the fight still going ahead and losing a point?
Losing a point automatically on the judge's card, and then that being the way the decision is understood.
Exactly. That's exactly how we want it, and that was obviously implemented like I said in the very beginning of PFL, that this is going to take us 5+ years to get it right, or to, adjust things here and there. And that's one of the things we did. And I think, again, Pineda knew that was the case. And so the only way he was going to come out and probably go through is by literally finishing the fight. And that's exactly what he did.
For the Caleb fight you mentioned, is that going to be a one-and-done deal, or can we expect to see her again next season?
Caleb's under contract, yes. Yeah.
And then question right here, Ray. So for the 4 finalists that made it tonight, 3 of them, this is their first season with the PFL. Josh, this is the second. How much is that a credit to your talent scouts, and how much does it show how much the PFL talent is from?
Well, like John said, the credits to the Challenger Series. Again, the Challenger Series, we take guys that's 5-0, 4-0, and guys that are 10+ fights. And the guys that made it through tonight, which was Josh Emperor, and who was the other one again? Josh Emperor and Braga. They had so much experience, and then, for example, Braga was fighting at a higher level, even though I think he's only was 8-0 coming into tonight. And Chris is a well-experienced guy, and he was able to pull the win. So that's again credit to the Challenger Series part of the organization, is that it allows us to find these talents.
And then one more question, Ray, because I know you guys are doing the PFL Europe. You got Cedric Doumbé. I think he's fighting next month. How much of a success is PFL Europe?
It's been great, actually. Doumbé was supposed to, I believe he was supposed to fight here. It's something, not 100% sure exactly what happened, but we decided to put him into Paris, which, France is his home city, so, hometown. So, I mean, probably the best debut for him for PFL is back home.
And then I guess kind of add on to that, has it crossed your mind maybe the 2 champions from PFL Europe and PFL America, you think you could do like a crossover fight?
Well, the purpose of PFL Europe for also PFL MENA, which is going to start next year, PFL Africa is going to start next year. PFL MENA, if you don't know, it that covers the whole of the Middle East. So the purpose of those regional shows or tournaments, if you will, is the winner would, obviously if he's at that level, then he will get the opportunity to be in the season, the global season. Instead of fighting for $100,000, he'd be fighting for $1 million.
Ray, can you just tell me, Josh Silver has 3rd first-round finished. Just tell me, talk about the Contender Series. Came from that. What does he mean to this organization? Obviously, you see him on social media, pushing him along. He's really growing into a star. Can you just tell me about what Josh means to this organization?
Well, Josh is, like just any other fighter that, again, with the season, there's only 10 guys that actually make the season. And so every single one of those guys are valuable to us. You know what I mean? And some guys come through like Josh and some guys don't. Josh obviously is a talented fighter, and he's going to the finals. But he's got a tough opponent ahead of him. So wish him, and of course, Impa, both the best, but may the best man win, like they said.